Hello, my name is Ponciano Ramirez, and I'm sorry I could not be there today, but I'm going to do this as best I can over YouTube, I guess. So today we're talking about obesity in my group, and I'm discussing the theory of socioeconomic status in obesity. I looked at a study that shows the differences of prevalence in obesity within preborn children between the ages of 10 and 11 with different numbers of income and socioeconomic status. So the study here shows the inverse relationship in with the parental income slash education level, the percentage of obese children within Italy. The chart shows that as the mother's education increased, ranging from elementary to lower all the way to a degree of some sort to high school, the level of obesity decreased. Also, the mother's occupation seems to have an inverse relationship to obesity rates among their children as well. Unemployed had the highest rates of obesity, with mothers who had manual jobs having the second highest. Mothers with the upper non-manual jobs had the children with the least percentages of obesity. The mother's age does not seem to have any sort of relationship with her children's obesity rates. The younger mothers, less than 36 of age, have the highest percentages of children with obesity, which caused me to speculate that the reason may be due to the growing rates of child obesity in developed countries in the younger generations. Those children who ate at school seem to have a slightly higher percentage of obesity prevalence compared to those who never eat lunch at school. That could be because the food at Italy and the cafeterias may not be as healthy as what they eat at home. There's no actual evidence that supports that. Males have slightly higher percentage than females in the children. The correlation between social class and body mass index varies globally. A review in 1989 found that in developed countries, women of a high social class were less likely to be obese. No significant differences were seen among men of different social classes. In the developing world, women, men, and children from high social classes had greater rates of obesity. An update of this review carried out in 2007 found the same relationships, but they were weaker. The decrease in strength of correlation was felt to be due to the effects of globalization. Many explanations have been put forth for associations between body mass index and social class. So in developing countries, it's more known that people with higher income have higher rates of obesity, mostly because in those countries, the effects of mass food production have not been felt as greatly in developed countries. Here in developed countries, such corporations such as McDonald's, Whataburger, any fast food industries, they can mass produce food at a much cheaper price than in those other countries. While there is some of McDonald's and stuff like that in India, there's not nearly as many as there are here, and people over there with higher amounts of income can afford more food, and thus they're, I guess, more overweight than the poor. The second theory is there a role for government intervention? So government intervention in the cases of obesity. And if you look at the PowerPoint, there are both pros and cons to obesity, to the interventions in obesity. So, but the reasons why the government would intervene at all, it would be probably because the changing economic incentives that have contributed to the rise in obesity. Also, diabetes, which is tied in with obesity, causes a lot of medical economic, causes them to spend the money on medication rather than actually spending it on things that can be productive in society. Should the government alter incentives so as to reduce obesity? In general, government intervention is economically justified when the costs of someone's actions are borne by others, as in the case of industrial pollution, drunk driving, or secondhand smoking. Economists do not take the private costs of behavior into account when determining whether government intervention is justified. While there is some evidence to suggest that not all costs of obesity are private and that obesity-related costs are burdening Medicare, Medicaid, at least in this country, the jury is still out on the magnitude of these costs and whether they justify government intervention. There's also the problem of how do you know who is obese naturally, or who is overweight naturally, and who is gaining weight because of the types of food they're eating. Some people find it extremely difficult to lose weight in any situation. So government intervention in itself is very controversial. The pros would be, like, of course, they would lead people to healthier lives and such. But, of course, there are the cons of intervening with independent lives, and so that would be problematic, of course, because then they can intervene in any aspect of private lives. Thank you.